Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds.
Welcome back to Harvesting Wisdom. We are at the Red Velvet Bakery. It's like a second home for the community, except with cupcakes. Super excited to be here today. We have our sustainability series with elected officials and business partners. So we're excited to have Stephanie Vasquez from Fair Trade Cafe. And we're going to talk about a lot of things because we have a local expert here on a lot of things and we want to harvest your wisdom. So we're going to talk about the light rail, but we're going to talk about your history and how you engage the community. And you said something in your pre-interview that kind of sparked an interest in me, because I'm a former president of the Chamber of Commerce. It's you're encouraging people to buy local, and that's actually a great sustainable way of looking at business and commerce in your community. So welcome, Stephanie. Why don't you tell us about your journey, because it's such an interesting, exciting journey.
Well, thank you for having me. I don't know if I'd call myself a local expert, just because, Phoenix continues to grow and evolve, and I feel like I am experiencing the growth and growing with it as it grows.
Okay.
I'm a former educator. I taught middle school science in a community called Santa Maria in the Southwest, not too far from here. And through a trip to Costa Rica, I just learned about how detrimental coffee can be to our planet and to people. And being a daily ignorant coffee drinker, I was just completely shook at what my daily regimen was really a part of. And I just decided, I'm kind of a look-see, move kind of woman. And I just thought, okay, we need to do something. We need to educate. I'm sure I'm not the only consumer that has no idea.
Okay, I have no idea. So you brought that up. You're going to have to fill in some gaps for me and for our listeners.
For sure.
What did you learn on that trip that really shook you? What was the thing?
Yeah.
Because this was a life-changing, it changed your trajectory of your career. What did you learn that really got you onto a different track?
I mean, first off, coffee is the second highest traded commodity next to oil. It's the second most purchased beverage next to water. And deforestation is just a part of it, and a horrible part of it. Not to mention the living wage of the people that are actually working and harvesting the land. And it really can go on. And it's something like less than 2% of coffee that's purchased is purchased fair trade certified. And when you're purchasing fair trade certified coffee, you're ensuring that the people that are working are being paid a fair living wage. They have running water and bathrooms and things that you and I just kind of take for granted. It's also ensuring that there is not deforestation happening. It's shade grown. You'll hear, oh, this coffee is shade grown, which really just means we're not cutting down trees to plant coffee.
And that's a great point, because when people say the word sustainability, it means a lot of things to a lot of different people. When I think about sustainability, really what we're trying to advocate is that a business or an individual is using a resource so that it could be used into the future. So you brought up deforestation. That's obviously not sustainable. Right. When you don't pay a livable wage, that's not sustainable. You talk about clean water. If you're polluting water, it's not sustainable. And there are a lot of industries out there, and that's kind of what people out there, and that's what we're getting them to think about. Are you managing those resources so that they can be used into the future? Okay, so you went to Costa Rica. Mm-hmm. You had this earth-changing event. What happened next? You were a teacher, and then all of a sudden you changed tracks. Tell us about what happened with that.
Yeah, looking back, there was a whole lot of things that happened within that time. However, when I came back, I don't have a business degree. I don't have business experience. I am simply a consumer of coffee at that time. However, there was just like this fire in my belly, and something had to be done. And I just started to look at different suites to find, a space to sell coffee. And I literally just one step at a time kind of just figured it out and trial and errored my way to now 18 years of business here in downtown Phoenix.
But you had a mission that you wanted to use fair trade coffee, and that represents only 2%. That's what you said?
Right.
How hard was it to make those connections so you could actually serve that coffee?
It was very hard. Originally, I could not find a roaster here in Phoenix. I was sourcing from Tucson, and there was 2 options. So it wasn't even about how great the coffee was. It was about who can I get to even bring this type of coffee. At different meetings, people would look at me like, you're crazy, Stephanie, you're going to pay this much for these types of products. And unfortunately, at the time, I wasn't able to source paper products locally. I was having to outsource them because there wasn't enough demand for compostable goods, for even recyclable goods. So it really was quite the journey to kind of get where we are. However, I was non-wavering on the mission of what Fair Trade Cafe was. And like you said, sustainability really is a layered topic. Yeah. And, we can say, we're sustainable because of the way we purchase our coffee. However, I wasn't going to stop there. It's a rabbit hole. It truly is a rabbit hole. And once you know, you will never unknow. So it becomes then, I'm mission driven. So when I'm making my decisions, I ask myself 2 questions. Does this align with our sustainable mission? And is this done from love? And if I can say yes on those 2 things, we take that next step.
Well, and the great thing about your messaging too is if you think about it, as consumers, we have a choice to choose sustainable products. So when we first started having these conversations, I always heard, I asked them about sustainability and they go, well, I'm not a farmer. Like, you don't have to be. Your daily choices, you can make sustainable choices every day. So going to a vendor that looks at sourcing sustainable products and uses sustainable business practices, that's the way they can continue and support that within their community.
Correct. However, there is still that gap of education. A lot of consumers don't even understand they're not even aware that there's a problem. So there is this, you want people to come in and have this wonderful experience, and you want to hit them with a little dose of information and education and empower them, educate them so that they will choose, and not just Fair Trade Cafe, but maybe, take this idea and, where else can I not only support local, but, support sustainability?
Honestly, that's a great point. And honestly, as working at a nonprofit where we talk about sustainability in agriculture, that's a balancing act that we always have to walk as well too. We want people to grow their own food, but it's expensive. They have to, or it's an expense. I wouldn't say it's expensive. They also have to learn how to grow food and how to sustain it. So that's really important. What strategies have you found? You kind of alluded to one. Have you used in order to change people's perception and to drive people towards more sustainable purchasing practices?
Well, really, the customer base and consumers at large are just very diverse, and every business wants their business to succeed, and what success means for that business is different to everyone. However, I know that the consumer doesn't want to come in and be bombarded with information when they just want a cup of coffee. Yeah. So really, my whole thing is I want people to come in and feel something so they can let their guards down, they can relax and be open. And you get a person to just kind of open up a little bit and feel safe. You now have the green light to educate and take it to another level. So really, it's more about the customer experience first and foremost, and then kind of layer everything else in.
That's a beautiful business model. You talked about composting a little bit. I'm going to switch gears. I'm the president of the Arizona Compost Council. So whenever I hear that a business is embracing composting, I get really excited. And we partnered with another business, Snooze, and they compost 90% of their waste. But one of the things I asked them, I said, it's not in any of your marketing, so nobody would know that you do that. I was curious as why they kind of didn't push that more forward, especially by trying to send a messaging for sustainable businesses and consumer practices. How do you incorporate that into your business practices, and how much of that do you share with your customers?
Yeah, again, if you kind of go through our socials and you go through our website, you'll see it's braided in. It's not information heavy, but it's definitely part of our mission. I know that, so we've been composting for over 15 years, and, shameless plug to Recycled City, who has really grown with us as, our composting has continued. It's not about over marketing the fact that we're composting. It's really about people understanding that your mission is sustainability and overall good. but you will find it. And I worked with snooze when they were first introduced to composting through an initiative that the city of Phoenix launched, which was very impressive. And to see that they just continued and ran with it is impressive, especially with a business at large.
Yeah, it's. I think they're up to 80 different locations, and the only thing that's really holding them back is that they're struggling in some locations to find a vendor to pick up their waste,
Exactly.
which is a challenge. Sometimes that's one of the things we're looking at with the Arizona Compost Council, where we want to move forward, but we understand because this is a new initiative, we're shifting the way we process our waste stream, and we just don't have the infrastructure. So I want to kind of to change pathways here. Obviously, you're an advocate not only for your business. What are some of the programs or partnerships, you talked about Recycle City and Mill, that you found helpful, whether it's the city of Phoenix or another business, to help you either maintain your business model or to advance it further with sustainability?
Well, what I'll say is, like, if we go back to 2007 when I first started, finding those businesses that can align with what I was doing was very challenging. So for me, it was that relentless dedication to this is what we're going to do, so I'm going to find a way. Now what I'll say is that, in current times, there are other businesses that you can easily align with. So what I would recommend to the business owner is to find those businesses that you can align with and allow it to be easy, because composting and recycling and all the things can be very easy. It sounds like this crazy change in your business. However, it really is not. It's extremely simple. So I just think finding partners that you align with. And then as far as the consumer part, if you're wanting to be more sustainable, I would just recommend, we've got information at our fingertips. There's so many businesses that are now truly, it's really impressive to see where the business community is going with businesses. And really, these businesses have such a heart and a care for our community. It's again impressive.
Well, looking at your business model too, you're kind of in the position where a lot of new businesses are. They have a passion, but they have gaps in their skill set. You have taken it and run with it. What attributing factors do you think have helped you become sustainable as a business owner when, just like me, you're an educator, you didn't have a business degree. How did you get from point A to point B and become great at marketing, great at community engagement, and all these different components that have really propelled your business?
I have to say that the community, hands down, I would not be where I am without the community support that I've had, because again, I have started from not having an education and not having all of these things that were reasons why, okay, I'm stumbling here and I'm failing here, but the community continued to support us. Without the community support, I would not have a business to continue to scale. So I have grown, and they have allowed us to grow.
And honestly, that's a great point. I know that when people think about partnerships or community engagement, sometimes they miss the messaging and it's more of a one-way street. But you obviously embody the two-way communication and support that you have for your community. I know that you're also involved in other organizations that are outside of your coffee business. How does that complement what you do with fair trade, and why do you do it?
Yeah, so I founded a nonprofit called ELLA, Empowering Latina Leaders in Arizona, and really it came from the two kind of come together. They really do. There's this cross between them. However, it came from the realization that Latinas are the lowest paid people on the planet. And realizing that, I just thought, wow, I'm part of this statistic unknowingly. And I had just decided to start highlighting other Latinas in business and really just shining a bright light on the work that they're doing, because in my opinion, I believe that collaboration is key in success. And, like I shared earlier, there was a lot of different challenges that there were not resources or support, or I didn't know of the resources and I didn't know of the support. There wasn't a mentor. So I wanted to make sure that someone else's journey was just a little bit better than mine.
Well, that's an incredible story, because honestly, for me, I've mentored a lot of people in education and now in the non-profit space, and that's always the advice I give people: find a mentor, find somebody to help pull you up and include you in a community. So you're doing that for your community at large. Do you have any stories that really encapsulate why you do what you do with that? Can you think of one individual or one instance where you're like, okay, I wasn't sure whether this was going to pay off, but that person, that circumstance made your day?
Yeah, and I would say that that's kind of how I define success, is watching someone else blossom and bloom and being just a little tiny part of that, even if it's spectator.
Yeah.
There's so many stories. I've worked with, last year alone, we worked with 600 different businesses here locally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so one story that always, anytime someone asks me this, I think about the first few years. We started in doing pop-up markets. And we were on Portland Park, not too far from here, and we had about 45 businesses and, music, and think about like a really lively farmers market.
Yeah.
That's what it was like. And, I always go around and check in on the businesses, and there was a mother-daughter, and the daughter was maybe 7 years old, maybe 8. And so I'm talking to the mom, and I'm, how is everything? How is your setup? Just kind of, checking in. And she's like, oh no, this is her business. And it was the 7-8-year-old's business.
Wow.
And so I immediately started talking to her, and I was like, wow, tell me about your business, and just kind of like talking. And the mom later on pulled me aside, and she says, Stephanie, we were at your last, they're called Mujeres Mercados. We were at your last Mujeres Mercado, and we were walking, and my daughter said, Mom, look, they all look like us.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was this moment of just representation where it was so much for this child to, we were talking earlier about taking the next step and how difficult that is. I can only imagine for a little one, that she decided that she wanted to start a business. She had a product, literally just turn this around. And that's how quick change can happen when we stand in our whole selves.
That's incredible. When I hear stories like that, I think of my mom, who inspired me to go into education, and my wife and my daughter. So, we have several generations that were inspired by her, and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like throughout your career, you've always been innovative and connected to the community. We started the journey with the trip to Costa Rica, and we just interviewed somebody from the Arizona worm farm, and he said, Joe, I'll be honest with you, I travel the world and go to worm farms all over the world. What do you use to continue to, have you come back to Costa Rica? What have you used to continue to innovate or to keep yourself current? Because I know that there's got to be a trick or a secret behind it. It seems like you're still at the cutting edge of change and community empowerment.
Well, what I'll say, in business, nothing stays the same.
Yes.
and it moves fast. So being comfortable where you're at is not a good strategy for any business owner. So I think just the climate itself really does encourage you to stay ahead or to be innovative. And for me, it's not attempting to catch up with the trend. I actually kind of keep away from trends. If anything, I attempt to really just kind of follow my intuition. What do we want to do next? What do we want to do? Do we want to do something next? It's really just being connected to myself.
Have you gone back to Costa Rica since that first trip?
I actually have not.
Oh, wow.
I have not. Yes. And something very special, in my opinion, for our coffee shop is that I also have a direct trade with farmers from Nayarit, Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so it's a 3-generation business. It started with a grandfather and one tree, and now I work with the grandsons. And so Nayarit is on the list of places to go and visit.
So was that one of the original structures of you having to find vendors and source? So you went down to Mexico, or?
Well, no, it was just, I would continue to just look for coffee and where
Okay.
can I source, sustainable coffee. And it was very, very challenging in the beginning. And this is how I met the Cayetano family.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question that I'm sure everyone out there is interested in, and it's social media. As a business owner, this is something that's terrifying for people, and it seems like once you get to my age that you're hopelessly out of touch and that you can't get engaged. What's your advice to business owners on how to engage social media to help elevate your brand, elevate your mission, or connect to the community, which you do all three?
Yeah, I would say social media is crucial, especially right now. You're going to get your biggest bang for your buck. Your ROI is huge because you can literally market for free. So I would say if this is not your thing, you need to find someone who it is their thing. That's something that I've learned along this journey, is that I don't need to have all the answers. However, someone on my team, let's have an expert on the team.
Yeah, we've finally cried uncle, and we've hired a intern from ASU because we need that younger perspective, that younger voice. And me going into a meeting, the producer of the show, she's in another generation as well, and that's great advice. I have to be willing and open to that because they just look at the world differently.
Absolutely.
They've grown up differently. The statistic I like to point out is my son is now 22, I think. he's never owned anything except for digital entertainment, which to me blows me away. No cassettes, no records, no CDs, no DVDs. He's never owned it. Everything he's owned has been digital. It's crazy. So, any last advice for anybody out there that's thinking about starting a business? You started it with this passion because of what you saw, and it's such an inspiring story. Even though you didn't have a background in it, you charged forward. What advice would you get to anybody out there, young, old, anywhere in between? Because this is something that's kind of a credo for us at Urban Farming Education. We want to close the gap between information and action. And you did it. You saw something. It wasn't just about awareness. You said to yourself, no, I've got to fix this problem. So what advice would you give to somebody out there to how to do that?
It's the same that I had said earlier. It's really just taking that next step on whatever the idea is. Whatever that is, take the next baby step. Do something towards it. And if it still just makes you get that feeling in your belly and you want to do it, take that next step and just constantly check in, because I will say that the journey of a business owner and an entrepreneur can be very difficult. It can be very, very difficult. And you add to it when you're fighting yourself. So you always want to check in. Do I really want to do this? Yep. Okay. Keep going. You got to just keep going.
So how does the community connect with you? So you have so many different projects going on. How do they connect with you for Fair Trade Cafe? Where are you located?
Yep. We're actually right. I mean, if you jump on this light rail and head north, we were at phase 1 of the light rail. So we are at 1020 North First Avenue in the heart of downtown Phoenix. If you want to connect on socials, I mean, you can go to any one of our pages and you'll find the link to all the others. It's another business tip. Make sure your business is easy to access digitally. Also, all of our handles are on our website. So if you want to check out our website, you can also go there and then click and connect to all the socials.
Quick question about the light rail. What have you seen? I've said it in a previous interview with the councilwoman that I'm getting the sense that we've turned the corner. Are you getting that sense with your business with the light rail and traffic and people returning to the community? Yes.
It's been really interesting to watch our city just grow. We've kind of gone from this small town mentality to we're a big city. So I would say, I've had a little bit of time to see it because, like I said, I was at phase 1 and now we're here at phase 3. People are now no longer afraid of driving downtown. Well, most people, because that was detouring people, this light rail that was running right through the street. So, I would say that we have turned the corner.
And what about your nonprofit? How do they? Because that's inspiring. The story of the 8-year-old girl and all the businesses or people you've come in contact with. How do they get in contact with you for a nonprofit? And if they're a new business owner, what services or what help can they get from you?
I use the same strategy. We make it real simple. So you could either find us on any socials and you'll find the link to all the others, or you could start with our website at azaya.org and that will take you to our socials. And it's very, very simple to navigate through. And we have 3 different programs depending on where you're at in your business.
What are the 3 programs?
So we have the Mujeres Mercado. If you're a pop-up or you want to start something or test something, I would recommend that you want to start doing those. And it's a pop-up market. And then I have a retail store that's called Amor Collective, and we have a 1-year rotation. And right now we're getting ready to end the 3rd rotation with 37 Latina-owned businesses. And then we've got a social networking club because networking and connecting with the community is crucial to your business's success, and not only your business success, but your personal success.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thanks for joining us at the bakery, where the bakery is like your second home, except with cupcakes. Make sure to like and subscribe and to continue to support this local channel where we talk to business leaders and politicians about what's important to you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.